It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show.
Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 152. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, October 26th, 2025. A great day for a podcast about video games and more. And that is exactly what I'm here to do. So welcome to the show. I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you so much for being here. The first order of business is to ask you to follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. I did a good bit of streaming last week, and I plan to be on there more often, so please double check for me on YouTube. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/DepLewisShow is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. That would definitely be the best place to get the podcast ad-free always. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you would like to support the show. So I just thank you so much for being here. And this show today is going to have 3 sections as always. The first section, I'll tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. And like I said, I've been doing some streaming this past week, so that has helped out my video gameplay, and I will be talking about some of that. In the midsection of the show, it's definitely not mid in quality. I would say it's probably the most high quality section of the show. It's where I tell you everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. So that is the plan for the midsection. And the final section is a break from all the video game talk and chatter and mumbo jumbo. And that's the miscellaneous talk section where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. And I usually and always get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with my favorite teams. The mighty Carolina Panthers today are playing the Bills at home in Charlotte and trying to win without Bryce Young today. So the Panthers actually have a positive record right now, but the Bills have one of the best players in the league, or if not the best player in the league, Josh Allen, coming to town. So that is a very, very tall task. But I will talk about that more in the final section, but that's just a little bit of a teaser for this NFL Sunday. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start off with the video game. So what's going on video game-wise? There's something pretty fun going on this weekend. If you happen to listen to this podcast right after I release it in real time on October 26th, you can still compete in the Splatoon Splatfest going on in Splatoon 3 right now. So if you've ever listened to the show before, you might know that I love Splatfest. It's one of my favorite times to play Splatoon 3. It's just like a weekend-long event that you pick one of 3 teams to represent, and at the end of the weekend, you get to see which team wins. So the question for this Splatfest this week, or Splatoon, is hope your costume is ready. Splatoon kicks off this weekend. Are you shambling with Team Zombie, rattling with Team Skeleton, or floating with Team Ghost? Pick your team in Inkopolis Plaza and get ready to play when the action begins Friday, so this past Friday. And if you watch some of my streams, you might know that I'm repping, and I'm recommending you play for Team Ghost out here. I think Team Zombie would maybe be my second recommendation, and then Team Skeleton for third was my initial impression. I learned that a friend of the show and friend in real life, Stoop Woot, was a Team Zombie fan, and I always like to get his opinion because he has a knack for picking the one I'm not going to choose, and then he really roots for them, and they often win. So, shout out to Stoop Woot on that one. But Team Ghost is looking to take down the zombies and the skeletons. I think the skeletons had one of the cooler symbols once I saw it, but I'm happy to be repping Team Ghost. I did a stream of playing in the Splatoon Splatfest on Friday, so if you want to go check out my YouTube, you can go watch a stream of me playing that and having some fun. And I'll probably be playing some more of that today, possibly. I played a little bit yesterday, and it's just Splatoon 3. It's extremely fun. There are still some disconnects going on, which is always kind of disappointing in Splatoon 3. I think it's just because they don't want you to continue the match with less players, I think is the main option. I don't know if it's like a communication error, but I feel like maybe 1 in 5 matches, maybe 1 in 10 being nicer, you're getting a disconnect. And I just never appreciated that, but that's always been something I can kind of look over with the game because I like it so much. And this was a Game of the Year winner for the Dep Lewis Show, and I think that still holds up. And what else do I want to say about Splatoon 3 today? There's a track in this game, or a multiplayer map called the Humpback Pump Track, and it's a really great map. I don't know if I remember this from I really just don't remember this, actually. I don't know when it got added. I did a quick search today, and it looks like it's been added for a while. So maybe it just never came across my rotation, or I barely played it, or I never noticed. I don't really know. But I've been enjoying this map so much. It looks like they're saying a pump track, but it looks like a Tony Hawk level in certain ways. And it's very simplistic, but I mean that in a good way. It's just kind of, I think if you were playing, if this was like the Smash Brothers, it would just be like one of the main, I guess like Link's or Zelda's Castle or whatever. That's a pretty main one. But I guess like the main one's just like the training ground. I think this would be like the most basic one that you could want, and I think it's basic in kind of a good way, but it still has a little bit of depth to it. So just shout out to the Humpback Pump Track map in Splatoon 3. And way to go, Team Ghost, and shout out to Team Ghost. And next week, I'll definitely keep you posted on who was the winner, and hopefully it would be me. Hopefully it would be me and my team of ghouls and ghosts and goblins. But I don't think I've won a Splatfest in a while, so you could say I'm due, or you could say that I stink, and that is up to you out there. But Splatoon 3, a wonderful game. Please play it. It does look better on the Switch 2, but it's still great to play on the Switch 1. That's where I played the majority of it, and I highly just recommend it in general. All right, what else have I been playing? So I did 4 streams in a row last week: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday was the Splatoon 3 playing, but the other 3 days were playing Ghost of Yotei, the recent release from Sucker Punch and the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima. And if you want to go check out some footage of that and me talking over and giving my direct impressions, then please go check me out on YouTube. But I've been making some open world progress in this game. I've been putting hours into it, if you can see on my streams, but I don't feel like I've been making too much story progress, and I attribute that to all the fun stuff to do around the open world and the side quests and the collectibles and just the exploration. I think I said that already, and even just walking around the world and looking at it and stopping to take screenshots. That's going to take up some of your time in this game too, because it looks amazing. And I think that what was standing out, I really like the combat. I'm still liking the combat. I'm liking the way I'm able to build out Atsu and all the particular upgrades and perks I get, and being able to tailor the playstyle to me. I've been doing a lot of parrying. I've been doing got the roll going on, and I've been adding some other things in. I've even been using the bow a bit. I still haven't really been using like the shoryukens or whatever those things are called, but I think your arsenal of moves and weapons at her disposal is extremely cool, and you are going to be able to get a whole lot more and customize them even further. So I think that's extremely cool, and there's a whole lot of things to do there. And excuse me. The other thing I wanted to point out, I've really been liking the platforming in this game. I did a section that I was really, what's it called? Comparing to Uncharted. It was like a section from Uncharted, but you're doing as a cool ninja named Atsu in this beautiful world of Yotei, in the Mount Yotei. So I really enjoy that. I think the climbing is pretty good. There's just a few things to learn while you're doing the climbing to really get the mechanics down, but other than that, you just need to look out for the spots and make your moves. And even in this section, I had to redo it a few times, and I thought that was kind of fun. It was like redoing it in like a Mario platformer kind of way, and I hope there's going to be some more sections of that in this game, because that's kind of the first one that I've seen a direct section of that. So I got to imagine there's going to be some more, but how much more we will see. And then the other highlight from Ghost of Yotei is the Watanabe mode. That's where it plays lo-fi music in the background, and it really amps it up when you're just exploring around, but it'll even play it sometimes in the midst of combat. It really kind of floats it in and out really well in that way. But it also, when you're just doing some straight up exploring, you're getting the lo-fi music, and it's excellent. So that is something I'd like to recommend, as well as someone who's a fan of lo-fi music, and this has made the game more relaxing and enjoyable to play in the open world for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just triggering something in my brain. It's like, okay, this is relaxing, but it makes it extremely fun. And that has been, I don't know if I've ever really had a mode in a game like be that significant to me. So I think that's pretty interesting. I kind of do think this game is tracking for my game of the year at this point. It's been Mario Kart World since June, and there's some other things still in the mix there for consideration, but I think this is a strong contender, especially if I keep playing more of it. And my plan next week is to continue on with my streams and start off with Ghost of Yotei again. So if you want to see me play it and get some more of my thoughts, please keep up with me on YouTube or this podcast, because it seems like I'll be talking about it for at least a few weeks more, and then possibly a lot at the end of the year. So Ghost of Yotei, a really cool game. All right, what else have I been playing in this past week? Another recent release I've been playing is Pokemon Legends Z through A. I've been making some more progress here. I think the start to this game, while I've been having fun with it, I think it's extremely slow. And it has me wondering if this game is ever going to open up. And I think I'm around 6 or 7 hours in, maybe. It still feels like it's holding my hand a lot, which, I don't know, maybe about half of this time of the tutorial stuff has been okay, but I think it would be cooler if they start the game off more in a modern fashion, kind of like Breath of the Wild or even Ghost of Yotei or some other games like that, where you're kind of more into the world, have an understanding for what you're doing. If you want to learn, you can kind of learn through context clues in the world. But I feel like it's been teaching you every kind of step of what to do in this game, and I feel like it's been all the moves and things have been taught to you by cool characters, and some of the some of the stuff looks cool. I think people have been complaining about the city being monotonous or continuous, and especially later on as you go. So that's something I'm looking for. But I've really been enjoying the setting so far. I don't think it's like the most populous city in the world, but I think it's been fun to walk around. I really enjoy the piano music that's been playing in the game. I think that's a nice touch. And one of my notes I wrote here for Pokemon Legends E through A is I already have more Pokemon in my party. Like, I'm having to make tough decisions already about who to put in the box and who to put in my party. So I'm really, really early on in this game. So I think that is pretty fun, because that's kind of the main event of this game is the Pokemon, really. And they look really amazing. I've seen some familiar ones, I've seen some new ones, and I really enjoyed the blend of that so far. So that's been really cool. I had to give up my Pikachu in a side mission, and I'm really bummed about that. And then the person immediately evolved the Pikachu and the Raichu, so they were teaching me how to evolve Pokemon. But I felt a little salty about giving my Pikachu up because I had not caught another one yet, so I'm going to have to find a Pikachu to make up for it. But like I'm saying, that was a little bit sad, but there's a lot of cool Pokemon already, even early on in the game. I tried to catch an Esper, but the Esper was elusive, and that's my biggest regret so far in Pokemon Legends Z through A. So I'm ready for the freedom portion in this game. I think that needs to come pretty soon. I don't think that my patience is getting thin with this game, because this is another game that's really relaxing and fun to play. It feels pretty low stakes. It runs really, really well on the Switch 2. I've heard it runs well on the Switch 1. I've heard the Switch 1 version is outperforming the Switch 2 version, and I guess that should not surprise me, but I'm excited to hear that it seems like it runs well on the Switch 1. I haven't really seen any footage of anybody playing it, but I think that's nice, and I think that might be why some of the graphics in this game are being termed like simplistic or repetitive. I think, I guess this game is primarily, this is me just speculating on things I've heard, but if this game was primarily developed for the Switch 1 and they had to take some concessions just to make it run well on Switch 2, I think they kind of at least threaded that needle. But there's always going to be people to complain about really anything. So it comes down to preference, I guess, on these things. But it's cool to hear that the Switch 1 version seems like it's a good version, or like it's running well. And I think that game's going to sell millions and millions of copies. So I've been having fun with this. I don't know. I'm a little bit cautious now on the hand holding, and I want the freedom to come in the game. I want to be able to walk around and kind of go do my own thing for a while. And hopefully that'll happen this week if I'm playing this game. But I've been having fun. I've been playing this in handheld on my Switch 2, so that's been nice. And I think the Switch 2 feels really great in handheld. And I've been having fun with the Pokemon Legends Z through A. Alright, what else? The last thing I've really been playing this past week has just been a little bit, but it's been a consistent one for the last couple of weeks, and that's Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube. So I'm playing this on the actual GameCube I have. And I just recently got an OEM controller, so that's been nice. I had a third-party one that when I picked up this GameCube, it came with a third-party controller when I bought it within the last year or whatever. But the OEM controller's been making a huge difference, and this has been the game I put the most time into since picking up that GameCube, and it's been extremely fun. I now have a third map. I believe there are more to unlock. The third map I definitely think is the most difficult so far. It's like all sandy. It's like a desert. It's sandy. It's windy. And pretty hectic out there. So I tried that course out, and then I actually went back to a couple of the first course just to, I guess you'd want to say, hone my skills out here on the links. And I've been trying out different characters still. I actually just tried out Mario. I don't know if I've played him before, but I just played him recently. I haven't really been sticking to a character, but they do have different attributes. It's been fun to be able to try them, and it's fun. Just for a golf game, I think this is top tier. I haven't played one in a while. And they are definitely very fun to play. It's been kind of a thing to play like in the morning if I'm having some coffee. It's just fun to boot it up and play it, and it's not really too mind intensive in any way, and it's just extremely fun. So Mario Golf Toadstool Tour has been a lot of fun, and I think it's in competition for one of my Dep Lewis Show award categories at the end of the year, and I'm about to talk about that right now. So that's everything I've been playing. Splatoon 3, the Splatfest, is going on this weekend. If you're listening to this podcast in real time today, by chance, you can still compete in the Splatfest on this Sunday. I've been playing Ghost of Yotei. I plan on streaming more of that on YouTube in the upcoming week, so please plan on that. And then I've been playing Pokemon Legends E through A and Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube. This has been the year of no direction on the Dep Lewis Show. I have to think of some type of theme for next year. I've had the year of survival horror. I've had the year of the RPG. Now I've had the year of no direction. I think next year could possibly, I thought about this one on the stream last week, but I'm thinking about year of playing favorites. And since I've gone back and completed, or I've finished the story in Mario Galaxy, I think maybe for the third time now, it has me thinking maybe I should go back and try to replay some of my favorite games of all time and see if they still hold up and where they stand. Because one of the categories I'm going to do at the end of this year is going to be my top 10 favorite video games of all time. I'm going to do that each year and kind of see where I stand. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. I've been also considering, if you've been listening, I've been considering a year of the platform, a year of the backlog, year of maybe my physical games, but I'm still thinking about it. I think year of playing favorites sounds pretty fun, and I think is where I'm leaning at this point. But other than that, Dep Lewis Show Awards 2025, the 4th annual Dep Lewis Show Awards, will be taking place on the final Sunday of this year, Sunday, December 28th, 2025. I'll be ranking my favorite game of the year, my favorite game from a prior year, my top 10 games of all time, and some other categories as well. It's one of my favorite shows to do each year since I've been doing this podcast, and hopefully this latest one will be the best one I do, and I'm planning on that and working towards it. And please just put that on your calendar, or just double put that on your radar. Last Sunday of the year will be the Dep Lewis Show Awards for 2025, a very prestigious, a very high honor award. But seriously, it's one of the most fun things I do, and I have fun ranking things and thinking about them, and it's kind of like the culmination of a whole year of doing this podcast. So it's really a whole lot of fun, and I hope you will enjoy it. All right, so that's everything I got for you for the first section. That's all my personal video gaming for the past week. I've had a lot of fun. I've been playing some really great games. I think this is an excellent year for video games, and that's going to be continuing for a couple more months. And you never know what my favorite game of the year is going to be, so you got to keep listening and stay tuned, and I appreciate it. So that's going to wrap up the first section. I'm going to play some break music, lovely break music, and come back for the midsection of the show where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 152. This is where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And the first thing I want to tell you about was a hour long, the second direct for Kirby Air Riders that took place last week. It took place on Thursday. You might possibly be hearing some TI out there and what you know about that. But Kirby Air Riders Direct took place on Thursday, October 23rd last week with the director, Mr. Sakurai. It was roughly 60 minutes and featured more info on the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 game. So Kirby Air Riders is releasing for Nintendo Switch 2 on November 20th, 2025 for $69.99 US dollars. So a full price game according to Nintendo. And if you don't know about Kirby Air Riders, this is the second iteration of it. The first was on the GameCube, but this is being touted as a fast-paced vehicular action. Pick your rider, pick your machine, and mount up for competition. Take on your rivals in the frantic arena battles or fast-paced races on the ground and in the air. Use the boost charge button to brake and control your turns as your machine automatically fights for top speed. Fill your boost charge gauge as you drift around the bend and release it to trigger an explosive dash. So this has been the second direct from Sakurai, talking all about this game. If you want anything spoiled in this game, you can watch these directs and see pretty much every facet, every menu, every item, every explanation of everything in this game. This is very similar to the rollout of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from Sakurai, getting a lot of information, getting a lot of directs, and maybe this is just par for the course for a game being developed by Sakurai. And I think my kind of take on this was, these are very long directs, we probably don't need all this information, but I think maybe from like a sales or like a marketing tactic, I think maybe it has hooked me in a little bit, and I think that could possibly be what it's intended for. I'm not someone with a lot of familiarity of Kirby. I guess, what was it called? Kirby Air Ride? Just Kirby Air Ride on GameCube. I never played it. I never had a friend who had it. Never really heard about it until recently. And now I feel like I know some about Kirby Air Ride, and I feel like I know a lot about Kirby Air Riders. So I guess the whole ordeal of making a video game is to sell it. And I think this, I think that's my explanation for, it seems a little unusual. They've been talking so much about this game and showing it off, but I think they plan on having this game be a staple for the Switch 2 and something people play for a long time, pick up at each holiday. People keep kind of has a snowball effect, kind of like a Mario Party game or even like a Smash, putting it in that category where this game is going to be selling continuously year over year. And it seems like a really great game. The one cool, or not a one cool thing, but this game is being sold content complete. They're saying there's no planned DLC. There's nothing planned to be added. They put all their heart and soul into this game, and I guess that's why they're a little bit of why they're going through showing this off. So I think this is an extremely cool thing. I really do think it's not a passion project because this is a fully funded, marquee Nintendo Switch 2 release, but it's a cool thing to be doing, especially in a year where they've released Mario Kart World. I don't know, people talk about why Sakurai chose or why they're letting Sakurai do this. Did they want more Smash Brothers? Did they he wanted to do something else, but they know he might want to do this? There's a lot of cool talk about that. I think Nintendo Voice Chat was talking some about that this week, and I thought it was interesting. But I think you can definitely tell the passion from Sakurai on this, and having the full marketing, full power of Nintendo behind you with someone extremely passionate, I think is a cool plan. Either way, not everybody's going to like this game, but I think it looks really cool. I think I'm pretty sold on it. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up right away, but I guarantee I'm going to play this at some point unless it gets released and everyone's saying, hey, this is really not fun in any regard. But it looks cool. It looks like Smash Brothers meets Mario Kart with Kirby, and I think it's hard to mess up that formula, really, especially with the pedigree of Nintendo. So it looks really cool. If you want to watch Kirby Air Riders and get some more information, there's now 2 hour-long directs, or I think the first one might have been 40 minutes or something like that. But there's plenty of information, plenty of footage, plenty of explanation, and this, that even has me wanting. So I've talked about playing the GameCube recently. It even has me wanting to go back and play Kirby Air Ride a little bit to try it out. But I think I probably want to start here and see what I like about this formula because it looks bigger and better, and just really cool. So that took place last week, the Kirby Air Riders Direct. This was number 2. And, we have all the Kirby Air Riders information we can need. So it releases in less than a month on November 20th for Switch 2. All right. What else has been going on? All right, Pikmin 4. That's a game that released for Switch in July of 2023. And they are sprouting a free update on Nintendo Switch this November. They're adding Decor Pikmin and more. It introduces adorable and unique looking Pikmin for your squad called Decor Pikmin, an in-game camera for snapping pics, and 2 new options to customize the challenge of your expedition. I think a lot of people are going to consider this like the Switch 2 upgrade, but that's not the case. This is an upgrade for the Switch 1 version, which you can obviously get on the Switch 2, but it's not a particular upgrade, anything specific for Switch 2. So Switch 2, Pikmin 4 hasn't received any type of upgrades for Switch 2, and I don't really know if it necessarily needs any. I think this is a really great looking game on the Switch. I don't know if it looks washed out any on the Switch 2. I've been kind of noticing that with games that are Switch 1 games that haven't had any work done to them to be a Switch 2 game. I don't know if you can always, or if I can always fully recommend playing them on the Switch 2. That's been something that I think the developers have to go in and optimize specifically for the most part, where it's not just going to initially translate over. And you could have a case where the game looks better on a Switch 1 handheld than it does on the Switch 2. So just a little bit unusual there. That's been a little bit of murky waters with the upgrade stuff. And I definitely have been feeling that myself. But Pikmin 4 getting some free content added to it, which Pikmin 4 I think did pretty well. I think it's pretty critically acclaimed. And this is going to maybe get some people to replay it or get some people back introduced to it. I think Pikmin is here to stay. And it's something that I kind of have on my list of a game that I need to complete a game in the franchise. It's definitely on that list, so I'm going to keep thinking about that some more. I do own Pikmin 4. I played some of it when it came out, but I fell off it like I do most games, so I don't really put that as an indictment on Pikmin 4 in any way. But free update for Switch, for Nintendo Switch, Switch 1 and 2 for Pikmin 4 coming this November. So another update that took place last week, and I saw the news of this while I was streaming and was very excited. Luigi's Mansion is being added to Nintendo Switch 2 system via the Nintendo GameCube Nintendo Classics library. I think this is a pretty funny sentence. This is directly from the Nintendo site talking about this, and this is their sentence. So just think about how wordy this is. Coming to Nintendo Switch 2 system via the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics Library, where it will be playable with the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack membership starting October 30th, just in time for Halloween. So basically, you just have to have the higher tier of Nintendo Switch Online to be able to access GameCube on the Nintendo Switch 2. So a little bit confusing there, but hopefully not too complicated. And this is something that's really cool because with this game being added to the Switch 2, you can play Luigi's Mansion 1, you can play Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3 all on the Switch 2. So that is a franchise as well that I have on my radar that I would like to complete a game in that franchise. And I do own this game on the GameCube. And I've thought about streaming it there, but I think this is probably going to be the best way to do it. And maybe I can do some type of comparison to just for fun's sake. But this is a game really, really high on my radar and something that I've been wanting to play a Luigi's Mansion game since it came out, or Luigi's Mansion 3 especially. Since I've had that game, I never pushed through to complete it. And I think it's cool that the whole franchise will be on Switch 2 on the day before Halloween. So that's the news. Luigi's Mansion coming to Nintendo Switch 2 system via the Nintendo GameCube Nintendo Classics Library, but make sure you have Nintendo Switch Online plus the expansion pack membership. All right, so that's all the Nintendo side of the house things I have for you to report this week. Starting over to, this is some pretty, I don't know actually. This is one of the more interesting bits of like news or happenings this week, and I think I have mixed feelings on this, and that is they have announced Halo Campaign Evolved. So a full remake of the Halo Combat Evolved campaign coming in 2026. It's coming out for Xbox Series X and S, Xbox on PC, Steam, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and Xbox Play Anywhere, and arrives day one with Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. And then also, in the notes for that, of which consoles and platforms that Halo Campaign Evolved is coming to, is PlayStation 5. Yes, you heard that right. Halo is coming to a Sony platform, and they have fully rebuilt the campaign. They are saying they will introduce remastered 4K visuals, beloved Halo weapons and vehicles, plus brand new story content. Wow, I didn't realize that part of it. Halo 1, the original release was November 15, 2021. And I saw that GameStop on their X or Twitter account had posted that this is an official end to the console wars. And it really does feel like the end of an era for sure. Because I, in my heart, my video game heart, tie Xbox and Halo together. And I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. It's just something kind of hard to comprehend as someone who, this is one of my favorite franchises ever. And I just never, I don't know if I would ever expected it to be on a PlayStation. I know we had Gears of War come earlier in the year, and that's still a weird one to see. I saw that game out in the wild. That's something I'm still interested in picking up because it's just a weird thing and interesting. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this remake either because I think the original game probably still holds up. I think it's going to be cool to get some upgraded things and, you know, maybe reintroduce this game to a new audience. I think that is a thing with Halo these days. I don't know if the kids out there are into Halo, and maybe rightfully so because of the recent releases, but this is a huge franchise for me, so I'll definitely be tuned into what this game is doing. I will probably give this game a chance, would be the case, and it's going to be crazy playing Halo on a DualSense, and I think it's cool. I think it's cool if you have a PlayStation. I don't have an Xbox Series X anymore, so it's cool for me that I have a PlayStation 5. I'm going to be able to access and not really have to miss out on these Xbox franchises that I do like Forza and Halo and Gears of War. And I think that's pretty nice, and it just feels unusual, but I think it's a really nice thing, and I'm excited. I guess I'm excited about it. I don't know. I guess like I'm saying, I have mixed feelings about it, but Halo Campaign Evolved has been announced. I don't think they have a release date. I guess it's 2026. My guess it would be later in 2026. But Halo is coming to PlayStation is the big news there. So pretty wild. All right, some general Xbox news. Since there's been a lot of rumors going around about Xbox, a lot of speculation, a lot of talk about their next gen, a lot of talk. They just released their I don't even want to call it their handheld, but Xbox partnered with ROG to make the ROG Xbox Ally, and it's basically it's a handheld PC, but it has some extra Xbox integration. And what am I trying to get at here? This is the Xbox rumor mill. So I have some quotes from the president of Xbox, Sarah Bond, and I just want to talk about some of her quotes because this is giving us some insight into the direction of the next-gen Xbox. It does appear there's going to be another generation of Xbox, but I think, from what it seems like, it's going to resemble this Rogue ROG Ally, Rogue Xbox Ally, Xbox Rogue Ally, whatever that new handheld that came out on 10/16. The $600 versus $1,000 one came out. I think it's going to look a little more like that. So they're saying, I think the one quote we do have that's an actual quote, it's going to be a very high-end curated experience is what they're saying. So I think all the suggestions point that this console could be more PC-like and other consoles. It could have Steam integration. That's something we've been seeing that's been rumored for a bit for the next Xbox console, and that could be pretty cool. And that's exactly what the ROG Xbox Ally is doing. It's running Windows as the operating system, but it also has like a Windows full screen experience that's supposed to be giving you a little bit of the console side of things, but you're able to play games that you're not able to play your entire digital library. So that's something that I don't think is extremely clear out there, but if you own Xbox digital games, you're not going to be able to play them all on the ROG Xbox Ally. You're going to be able to play ones that are designated Xbox Play Anywhere. So there are some games like that. It seems like they're going to be adding more and more to it. But my thinking on this thing, from all the reviews I've seen and people talking about it, I think the Steam Deck is the better choice, unless you really just love Xbox. I think if you really love Xbox, if you have a digital library there, if you plan on buying more digital games on Xbox, particularly in the future, and you really like Game Pass, I think this could be the perfect thing for you, because I think even the base version, the ROG Xbox Ally, the white version, it has 16 gigabytes of RAM. So that's pretty comparable, I think, to a Steam Deck right now. I think all three versions of the Steam Deck have 16 gigabytes of RAM versus the LCD and the OLED. So it's going to be able to run, things pretty similarly to that. And then the form factor of this new ROG Xbox Ally seems like it's the most top tier in comfort and form factor and all that. So I think that's pretty nice. But I think some of the downsides to the ROG Xbox Ally would be having Windows on there. I think a lot of people have been complaining about all the updates you have to do. You have to keep your drivers updated. I think that's been kind of the main complaint. Some of it's kind of clunky. Some of it kind of seems unnecessary for a handheld gaming machine. And I think the opposing thing with the Steam Deck, I think the Steam OS is something that people talk about in such a high regard and high fashion that it's a striking difference from people that have been playing on the Steam Deck moving over to the ROG Xbox Ally, where they're saying, hey, it does have more power. It runs great when you get into the games, but some of the user interface is a little bit of a detractor in playing this. And then with the price comparison, it really makes that a tougher choice, because you can get a base Steam Deck right now brand new for $400. You can get the OLED for $550, and then I think the most top tier one $600 or $650. And then the base Xbox Ally is $600, and then if you want to get, which is I guess the highest tier, with the 24 gigabytes of RAM, is a $1,000 option. So I mean, that's extremely expensive, but that would be the most powerful. That would probably I guess it kind of technically is, and some people are arguing it's the best handheld PC on the market right now. But I think the Windows side of things is a pretty big detractor for that. And then if you're not into Xbox, I think it's a detractor as well. But for a particular niche subset of people, I think this could be a really cool thing. I've thought about wanting to pick one up, and it has me a little bit leaning towards wanting to pick up a Steam Deck. If I had to choose, maybe I would go Steam Deck at this point, but I've kind of wanted a Steam Deck since they've released. But this definitely has my brain more on thinking about these things and learning about them and trying to decide what I think I would like and more interested in them. And I think it's a cool thing. I think it's a cool option out there on the market. I think these prices are expensive. I don't think you have to pay them. I don't think these are anything you necessarily have to have. But I do think they're cool options, and I think these options are getting better over time. And this one, I think if I was being honest, I would want to buy one of these, but I think the next iteration of whatever Steam's going to do or Xbox or PlayStation's going to do, I would really want to buy that. So I think I'm maybe one more generation away from being in on these completely, but I've been thinking about it more and more than I have. So I think they're doing a good job of promoting these and selling them and making them actually look like a valuable addition to your gaming arsenal. All right, well, we're talking about some quotes from Sarah Bond, president of Xbox. So that's kind of some of her comments on what the next possible console will look like for Xbox. It'll probably be expensive, and it'll probably be some kind of hybrid, PC with Xbox integration, but able to access things like the Epic Store and Steam and other things like that. And then what else? Just some more comments from Sarah Bond. The biggest games in the world are available. This is her talking about, I guess, kind of their strategy for games and exclusives. So we talked about Halo coming to PlayStation, and this is the new president of Xbox comment kind of on that topic. And she says the biggest games in the world are available everywhere. You look at Call of Duty, you look at Minecraft, you look at Fortnite, you look at Roblox. That's actually what's really driving community in gaming. That's where people gather, and the idea of locking it to one store or one device is antiquated for most people. You want to be able to play with your friends anywhere, regardless of what they're on, and we're really leaning into that with this experience on the ROG. She says the Ally X. It just opens up another way for you to play, as does cloud, as does PC, as do the consoles we all have in the living room. And you can notice there the consoles we have in the living room was last on the list. And I think that's a little bit of the feeling I have as a older gamer and someone who does like the consoles. But I keep up with the new stuff, and I'm definitely like I like all the new upgrades that come on with the modern fashion, but I do appreciate the old things still too. And I think Xbox direction really is going to a future that, I don't know if it's completely in place. Maybe that's going to be the answer. Maybe everything they're doing is going to be the answer in the future of how we're going to be gaming, but I just don't think it's quite there yet. And I think it's okay to be apprehensive if they're going to be there, or if you want to even be there through the trials and tribulations of getting it. Kind of what I'm talking about with these PCs. Like, maybe you do just wait is the smart move, but especially with how expensive these things are. And then I guess some of the critiques I'd have of these kind of comments are, if you're not one of these people who play Call of Duty, Minecraft, Fortnite, Roblox, and most likely you play one of those primarily, or, it kind of feels like gamers, well, I guess it does with Xbox, it feels like gamers like myself who appreciate like single player games or indie games, which those are all available, but not being the focus of their direction is a little bit worrisome, I guess I would say too. But, they're remastering Halo. People love remasters, and Nintendo's been doing a lot of that. I think some of that's okay and could get some people back in the mix. I don't think remasters are always bad, but I think Xbox, I think they really have to hit on some of this tech stuff that they're promising and that they're promoting so hard. I think they have to make it really, I think they have some work to do there. I think that's really where they have their work to do. I think their direction seems okay, and I just think it's up in the air, like with all these companies, of what's going to end up happening. We don't really know. The future is certainly uncertain, and we're getting some insight into the direction and how they're trying to steer their ship, and I think it's interesting, at least. So I've been looking into these handheld gaming PCs, and I've been into them, and I wouldn't be surprised if you hear me talking about having a Steam Deck one day on the show. I think that's where I've been leaning a little bit. So I'll keep you updated as always. But that's kind of the Xbox rumor mill. That's everything I had there. Some pretty interesting quotes from President Sarah Bond of Xbox, and just it's fun talking about the rumor mill stuff, and that will probably continue because we've been getting a lot of rumor mill stuff for Xbox recently. All right, the last few things I want to tell you about are some video games that are coming out in the upcoming week. I'm going to put these on your radar and put them on my radar and tell you what I've been kind of hearing or seeing about them. The first one is The Outer Worlds 2. The follow-up to the 2019 game, which was an award-winning first-person sci-fi RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, published by Xbox Studios. This game, Outer Worlds 2, is going to release on October 29th, so just a few days away, if you're listening in real time, for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox Game Pass, Windows, Steam, and Battle.net. Developed by Obsidian, published by Xbox, and it's an action-packed adventure with a new crew, new weapons, and new enemies, and a new colony. So much newness. So this, you want to kind of think Mass Effect, you want to kind of think Fallout, but you want to kind of think a unique sci-fi space world that you are exploring. And I think the first one, I think they kind of over-exceeded expectations with the first one, and they've taken a long break. It's been 6 years since the first one, and I've been hearing that this one's refined, it's better, it's fun, and this one's not going to be, I don't think this one's going to be like out there and like the huge outlets is like game of the year, but I think this could be a lot of people's game of the year out there, and games that people, and something that this game will probably go on sale at some point and people are going to pick it up. I think this is just going to be a very solid, great video game, and it seems better than the last one, and I played some of that last one and had a great time with it and planned on playing more, and this could be something that I pick up and try for sure. And I think it's a little bit under the radar right now, and everything I've seen and heard from it is it's extremely fun. So if I'm kind of was talking a little bit of trash back there about the Call of Duties of Fortnite and the Roblox, and all these companies kind of just focusing on the giant big money makers. But this is a good example here of just a damn good old classic video game that's being released, and I just want to make sure that one is on your radar. The Outer Worlds 2 is coming out in the upcoming week, a multi-platform release from Obsidian Entertainment. Another game that comes out in the upcoming week, both these next two games come out on the same day, and that's October 30th. But this one is Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. It's a multi-platform release. It's coming out for PS5, Xbox Series XS, Switch, and Microsoft Windows. It's $59.99 US. The developer and publisher is Square Enix, and it's a stunning reimagining of the first two legendary adventures in the Erdrick trilogy brought together in one package. The first Dragon Quest game was 1986, then 87, then 88, so those were the first three releases, and they had rapid-fire releases for many years, so there's a long history here with Dragon Quest, and it's pretty cool to be getting the original games cemented here on the Switch 2, and it's in a really beautiful HD 2D fashion. I really do think that's a nice art style and look. And Dragon Quest is a franchise I've never really played a game in the series seriously, or completed one of any means. I think I've only tried out one of the games. I think it was Dragon Quest 16. So I mean, there's a million of these games, and I've been thinking about. I've been on a little bit of an RPG kick, so I've been trying to think of franchises that I need to put on my radar, and Dragon Quest is definitely one of them. They released Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake last year or earlier this year. It's kind of hard to remember. It was kind of recent. But the third game in the series is the first game chronologically, so that's why they released 3 first, and then now they're doing 1 and 2, which is following up the story, which they call the Erdrick trilogy. So I think that's a very cool concept. And even me, I already know about the Erdrick trilogy. It was there's something there that I like about this, and I should maybe try this game out at some point. And if you want to play Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, you can in the upcoming week. All right, the last thing I want to tell you about is an upcoming game that comes out on October 30th, 2025 as well, for PlayStation 5 and 4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch 2 and 1, and Microsoft Windows. It's only coming out digitally on this day, but I believe it comes out physically later. I don't think it's too much later. I believe that's the case, so double check me there. But I do know you can access this game digitally on October 30th, and that's the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. So I really love some Mortal Kombat. It's been a couple of my favorite games of all time, like over the course of the years. I'm just definitely have a huge reverence for this franchise, and having a collection of all the early games up to a certain point. I don't even know how many games are on here, but this will be a pretty good nostalgia blast for me, and hopefully it can be a good package of games, and hopefully the online will be working well, and I can see myself getting into this. So the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection releases on October 30th. It's $49.99 US. It's on sale multiple places currently for 10% off if you want to pre-order, so you can save $5. That's $44.99 US. The developer is Digital Eclipse, and is published by Digital Eclipse and Atari. So step into the arena and choose your fighter. Experience the legendary origins of Mortal Kombat with the iconic arcade classics that started it all, alongside a curated selection of most loved home versions and rare fan favorite releases, a celebration of the franchise's groundbreaking legacy. So a franchise, I believe, that was started by 4 people, that has morphed into one of the most iconic franchises in video game history. They're still releasing great video games. They still got their fastball, and there's been some ups and downs, but they still got it. Celebration of their history in one collection, I think, is extremely cool. And I think one of my earliest video games I've ever played was whatever Mortal Kombat game was out on the Game Boy, and I guess it was like maybe the first one that came out on the Game Boy, whatever it may have been. That was the first time I saw Mortal Kombat and played it and really enjoyed it. And I think I didn't get really back into Mortal Kombat, I don't know, maybe until the Xbox 360, actually, thinking about it. And then Mortal Kombat 11 is one of my favorite. I never really played Mortal Kombat 1. That's something I've been tempted to pick up, and maybe I should at some point, because that game's been like $10 or $15. And I don't know, I go through waves of fighting games, but I really get invested in them, or interested, or obsessed with them from time to time. So I go through waves of that, and you never know, it might be time for a Mortal Kombat wave. But the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is releasing on October 30th for a bunch of different platforms, and I believe that's just digitally right now, and it's coming physically later. So that is everything I have for you for the midsection of the show this week, keeping you up to date with the video game world. We talked about Kirby Air Riders Direct number 2 that took place last week. We talked about Pikmin 4, Luigi's Mansion, Halo Campaign Evolved. We talked about the Xbox Rumor Mill, the Outer Worlds 2, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, and Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. So that's everything I have for you on the video game front for this week, but there's still one final section of the show to go, and that's the Miscellaneous Talk section, where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world, and I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. It's usually pretty short and sweet, and even if you don't like sports, you can just kind of listen to the emotions I have, which is often heartbreak or despair or sadness, and that is kind of my selling point for if you don't like sports. You can just kind of listen to me and make fun of me in your mind, and or even in real life like my friends do. So come back after this music for the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 152. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 152. This is the Miscellaneous Talk section where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. And I want to get into the worldwide world of sports as always and tell you what's going on with my favorite teams, because this is an NFL Sunday where the mighty, where the over 500, where the winning record Carolina Panthers are about to take on the Buffalo Bills at 1 p.m. today in Charlotte against Josh Allen, the MVP and possible back-to-back MVP of the league. So very, very tough for them today. Bryce Young actually did get injured in the last game, but the Panthers were able to win last week. So that's the first thing I want to tell you about. The Panthers beat the Jets last week, 13-6. Bryce did leave the game with an ankle injury. It doesn't seem extremely serious, but it's going to have him out of starting the game today, and had him out for the end of last week's game. But Bryce went 15 for 25 for 138 yards and a touchdown, 1 sack for 12 yards against the Jets. He left with the ankle injury. Andy Dalton came in and finished the game with 4 of 7 passing attempts for 60 yards, 1 sack, and 9 yards. But they got the dub. Rico Dowdle had 17 carries for 79 yards. Chuba had 14 carries for 31 yards. So glad to see the running backs getting a lot of carries, and that would be my hope today as well. Xavier Legette had a breakout day, 9 catches, 92 yards and a tud, 11 targets. Derek Brown, the monster on the defensive line, one of the best players on the entire team, if not the best, 7 total tackles, 4 solo, and 2 sacks. And J.C. Horn, another one of the best players, if not the best players on the team, had 2 interceptions and a phenomenal day. He was out there running routes like a wide receiver, catching the ball. Ryan Fitzgerald, who's been a great addition to the kicking team, or to the team, and kicker, was 2 for 2, a long of 30. He had an extra point for 1 of 1 as well. So shout out to him. He's been a really great addition to the team and been noticeable about how efficient he has been with his kicking. So, like I said, we got to watch Andy Dalton today be the starter. But hopefully he's going to be handing the ball off a whole lot, and then possibly just force-feeding XL and Tedero and McMillan some would be the game plan, and then have the defense try to hold on against Josh Allen as best as they can. So they're playing the Bills in about 52 minutes, so I'm really excited to watch that after getting this podcast out. And just shout out to the Panthers for having a winning record right now. And then shout out to my fantasy team as well. I'm undefeated over there. I'm 7-0. I'm going into a matchup today that I am not projected to win, but I am hoping that my guys are going to come through, and I'll keep you updated on that as well. So the Panthers are going to be playing on to next week. Will be at Green Bay at 1 p.m. So that's what we'll be talking about on the podcast next week, about talking about getting ready for that game. But the plan today is for the Panthers to take down the Bills. And please, Andy Dalton, do your thing out there. We need a good game for you, and then please get Bryce back next week would be my hope. And if they beat the Bills today, I'm going to be pretty excited. So let's do it, Panthers. Let's get a dub. All right, so NBA has started back up, and I'm a halfway fan of the Charlotte Hornets since I'm a North Carolina resident. So I want to tell you about what's been going on with them. Last Wednesday versus Brooklyn, they started off their regular season with a win, 136-117. Saturday at Philly, the Hornets lost 121-125. I think Philly's first-round pick has been balling outrageous, and that's very good news for the Philly fans. Sunday, the Hornets will be playing at the Wizards at 6 p.m., so that's later today, so I'll be checking in on that. And then next week, the Hornets have Miami, Orlando, Minnesota, and Utah. There's been plenty of good LaMelo highlights out there, and there's been plenty of questionable shot highlights out there, and I think the Hornets need to be a little more organized or disciplined in their approach, I guess would be the thing. And that's what pretty much everyone in the media has been saying, and I think I agree as someone who follows them and watches them. But my favorite NBA team, and I kind of say this a little bit sadly because the season started off poorly, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. But before the season started, they gave Dyson Daniels an extension, which I approve of that message, of 4 years and $100 million. He was the 8th pick in the 2022 draft. He came over to Atlanta as part of the DeJounte Murray trade with the Pelicans. Last year, he won NBA's Most Improved Player of the Year, was runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. Ever heard of that award? Pretty good one. And made first-team All-Defense and finished with 229 steals last season, the most in the seasons by any player since Gary the Glove Payton in 1995-1996. So shout out Dyson Daniels, a very valuable Hawk, and now he was already probably extremely rich, but he's a even more rich NBA player now. So congrats to you, Dyson Daniels. But the Hawks started off their season Wednesday versus the Raptors, and they lost 118 to 138. I'm a little bit, I don't know what I think about this roster. On Friday out at Orlando, the Hawks won 111 to 107. I think Orlando's a good team. And then Saturday versus OKC, the reigning champs, the Hawks lost 100 to 117. I think in the first game, it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker took the most shots of the team, so that's a little bit perplexing. I don't know about the shot counts on the last two games, but watching them, I don't really think they're passing the eye test at this point, and I'm hoping that's just some early season struggles. So the Hawks next week will be playing Chicago, Brooklyn, Indiana, and Cleveland, so a pretty packed week for Hawks basketball and Hornets basketball as well. They both have a four-piece next week, so I'll tell you about what happens in those next week on the podcast. But go Hornets, go Hawks. And then my favorite team in the world, the Atlanta Braves, are in the offseason. The 2026 season begins for the Braves Thursday, March 26, 2026 versus the Royals, but you know who's waiting on that. And for MLB general news, the World Series has been taking place. It started last Friday. There was a game Friday and Saturday. Toronto won the first game in a pretty outstanding, dominant fashion, 11-4. But the Dodgers came back last night and won 5-1. Yoshi had he pitched a complete game. I think he's pitched 2 of those back-to-back now, and pretty rare air there and doing some pretty phenomenal things. And I expect the Dodgers to maybe win the next 3 and take the series. I think the Dodgers are going to win this, and I am a little bit upset about it, but I guess I'm halfway cheering for the Blue Jays and Vlad to try to get it done. So the next games in the World Series will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then all the baseball will be over, and that'll be very sad. That's a little bit of definitely a bittersweet moment for me when the baseball's done, and it's going to be even more sad if the Dodgers are the winners of the series again. So we'll see, and I'll keep you updated with that on the show next week. That's everything I have for you for the Miscellaneous Talk section. That's all the sports thoughts I have for you. Please go Panthers. They're playing in 48 minutes. I got to get this podcast out to the world, and then sit my ass on the couch, get ready to watch the Panthers take on the Bills, and I hope it's going to be a dub. So that's the plan. Hopefully I'll be telling you about that next week, and hopefully you have some success out there in the sports fandom world as well. So that's going to wrap up the final section of the show, and in turn, it's going to wrap up the whole thing. I guess that, kind of saying the same thing, but it's going to wrap up the whole show. So I'd like to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. Find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you'd like to support the show. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world. Please look out for me on YouTube. I think as a preliminary or a rough draft or a penciled in schedule, I'm going to try to do what I did last week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday being multiplayer night. And please just come check me out on YouTube each of those nights for a couple hours. I had a whole lot of fun doing that last week. It's something that I've been intending to do some more streaming, and that's a little bit of a schedule I have going on in my head. So please look out for me, especially on those times, but I'll keep you updated on any of my platforms, any of my accounts, and especially on this podcast with what's going on with me. And I appreciate you, paying any attention to me that you do, or any listens or whatever. So have a great week out there in the world. Go Panthers, go Hawks, go Hornets, go video games, and come back next week and listen to the Dep Lewis Show, because that's where I'll be, and I will talk to you then. Goodbye.